Hello, I'm Anne Kruger. Welcome to the program. It's fair to say that the humble honeybee is our most important insect. Not for its honey, that's a bonus, but for its pollination of our major food crops. But these prolific pollinators are threatened by a foreign pest, a deadly vampire-like parasite, the varroa mite. In this Science Week special, Tim Lee looks at the joint task force that's been established to smite the mite.
The bee is truly one of nature's wonders.
They're just mad, crazy, they just work themselves to death.
It's a lot bigger, of course, than the honey production and the products that the bee produces directly. Their biggest contribution to Australia is their pollination.
It's late winter, but the blossom on the almond trees reveals that spring is almost here.
I find it this time of year absolutely fascinating to watch the bees work and understanding the important role that they play in our industry. They've tried to accomplish the pollination by artificial means, everything from air fan sprayers that blow pollen, and really there's nothing that can duplicate what a bee can do, because bees will come in and they'll walk every bloom and they'll just work their way across an orchard, and it's an amazing process, really. There's just no substitute for it.
The fascinating part of this is that you can see here that the pollen has been stripped off. Yep. So that flower is fertilised, and if you look around there's a flower there with still quite a bit of pollen on it still to be collected. It's like here again. Yep. See another one there that yep. And see how the petals are actually starting to fall off of that, so that the little nut will come out of this very soon.
Bees enjoy almond blossom because of the quality of the pollen. It's also available early in the spring, helping the hive emerge from its winter hibernation. For Australia's almond industry, bees are of critical importance. Without them, there would be no industry.
For a commercial orchard, it's absolutely essential because the trees are not self-pollinating. So we're required here to have different varieties of almonds and then bees to carry the pollen to each and every bloom to pollinate them. So you will get some pollinization that goes on, but it'll be very minimal. We couldn't be successful on a commercial basis without bees.
Almonds, for as long as we've grown in Australia, have relied on having managed bees brought into the orchards. They're such a huge monocot with so much blossom over a very short period of time, 3 or 4 weeks is all it's open, and the bees just need to be there, and so relying on those that are flying around the bush wouldn't work at all.
So the answer is managed bees, hives brought in from elsewhere.
Yeah, it's very simple.
Apiarist Trevor Monson runs a pollination service. And like his bees, he's feverishly busy.
Those 3 trucks that we're going to make it this afternoon are not going to be here till the morning. So this year we've put together just over 100,000 hives of bees. The furthest are 1,800 kilometres away, just over the Queensland border. And we have them from South Australia, Victoria, and nearly all over New South Wales as well.
Almost half of all the commercial hives from Victoria and New South Wales have been trucked here.
So you can imagine pulling in 100,000 hives from all over Australia, just getting them here, spreading them out evenly across the orchard, and then having them be the kind of quality hives that will get the kind of pollination that we want. It's a huge undertaking.
Jonathan, yeah, we just leaving Happy Valley. We're on our way out. I'm going to ring Terry Brown and see where that truck is.
The apiarists get paid for putting their bees into the pollination process. They won't harvest much honey. Almonds yield poorly, and it's dark and strong in flavour.
We've got a big population of native bees, but they play little or no role in our food consumption production because the food we have in Australia that we need the bees for is pretty much all European imported foods. We don't live much on any native foods. And so it's not surprising our native bee population plays a very small role in our food production.
Now we're looking for...
We know too well because we pollinate a lot of fruit and vegetable crops, and of course with almonds, bees, there's no almonds at all.
I don't think the general public realise the expanse of the need that we've now relied on bees.
A staggering 2/3 of agricultural production relies on the delicate work of the honeybee. Like almonds and other nuts, fruit crops such as cherries, apples and pears are also almost totally dependent. The European honeybee first came to Australia in 1822. They soon went bush, displacing varieties of native bees. And it's thought that today there are more wild bees than there are commercial hives. These abundant wild bees and their vital unheralded work have perhaps made us complacent. Make no mistake, taking them out of the equation would compromise the nation's horticultural and agricultural sectors. But a vampire like Mite, the size of a pinhead, has the power to do just that. In recent years, the varroa parasite has cut a swathe through the world's honeybee populations.
I compare varroa to something like, say, a flea that bites an animal. This varroa, drills a hole in the bee, and that allows other viruses and bacteria then to get in it, as well as the fact that the varroa, sucks goodness out of it as well. I've seen colonies in America where they've been quite healthy hives of bees with a fairly high count of varroa in them, and I've been told within 3 weeks those hives would be no good for almond pollination if they were left there.
Australia is now one of the few countries in the world still free from varroa, and the only country with a population of wild honeybees. Everywhere else, varroa has wiped them out. Varroa destructor is entrenched in New Zealand, and another strain of the mite has reached Papua New Guinea. Bob Gulak witnessed its destructive impact in his native California.
For a couple of years there, the industry was a bit in chaos. We still have bees. Costs to the farmer have increased, probably tripled because of that, because trying to take care of the disease, control it, treat it.
We really have to learn by history what's happened overseas, especially, I'll give you an example, in America. Their hives actually have decreased by 50%. The treatments for their hives increased by 25%, the cost of treating a hive. And also there was a 4- and 5-fold increase in the demand for pollination of their food crops. And this is what could happen here. And also the cost of pollination increased, which meant the cost of food increased. So there's lots of benefits of making sure that we look after our honeybee industry here in Australia.
There's some good bargains still going around at the various stallholders, so get down and introduce yourself and say, I want to talk.
Like most beekeepers, Marie and Colin Murley travel widely according to the season and the availability of blossom for their bees. At present, some of their hives are amongst the almond orchards. Today, they have a stall at the Talbot Farmers Market in central Victoria.
You want to take a big one?
The dark one. It's something different.
Yeah, it's good. It's got good flavour.
Markets are also a chance to educate the public, the medicinal benefits of honey, and, just as crucially, the imminent threat of varroa.
Honeybee pollination is just paramount to the security of Australian food.
Stringent quarantine procedures have kept Australia's bees free from varroa and other foreign pests so far. But a recent discovery of imported bees in the northern Queensland port is a timely warning of our vulnerability. There is now a battle plan in place, a new report, Pollination Aware, which for the first time brings a coordinated approach and puts a value on pollination services for 35 commodity groups, including fruits, vegetables and pastures. The report is a joint effort between the Rural Industries Research and Development Corporation, Horticulture Australia, the federal government and the honeybee industry.
Pollination Australia really has produced this report to try and look at what the big picture is with bees and the movement and the pollination problem. Basically talking about when varroa does arrive. Let's say we have an outbreak on the east coast somewhere, where we draw the lines that we start to look at quarantining the area that's got the infestation, where the bees can come out of that area, whether they can go in again, whether they have to be destroyed when they're in there. How is that going to affect pollination? Depends on what time of the year we get it, depends on what part of Australia we get it. It really is a big logistical test.
The pollination report has been widely welcomed by horticulturalists and aparists alike.
We know that varroa will come. It's not an if, it's a when. It's already in New Zealand, and so to be prepared how we're going to deal with it, gives us as growers more confidence and a better handle on what the future looks like once it arrives here.
Should that occur, Trevor Monson's role as Chief Field Marshal for the bee industry will be even more crucial.
No, it'll be later on. It'll be an hour and a half.
Fruit grower Peter O'Brien is busy pruning his plum trees before budburst. He uses Trevor Monson's bees to pollinate his crops, so he's only too aware of the insect's value.
It would be disastrous if suddenly the wild ones disappeared, because there is sometimes that we can't get onto Trevor stuff for different crops, because I grow a lot of different crops and the timings are all different, and Trevor might be away in Queensland or something like that. But if there's no wild ones, we'd be even more reliant on the beekeepers. These are a sun variety of plum. Every 7 or 8 trees is a different variety for pollination, and without the bees, we just wouldn't have a crop.
They're as far advanced as we'd like to see them, because we've still got a bit of cold weather to come.
Horticulturist Barry Avery also welcomes the pollination report. He has a grove of avocados, his most profitable crop. But growing this tropical fruit this far south takes some real skill.
Yeah, I suppose, Trevor, with the bees, as you know, it's not real easy to get good pollination up here because it gets a bit cold, so everything that we can do to assist always helps. So, you know, if we can have 1 or 2 extra hives this year, that'd be a help.
Oh, well, we've got plenty of bees. I just don't like spending people's money if it's not necessary. But I know some of the recommendations are 8 to the hectare.
Yeah. Oh, realistically, you know, for another, you know, if it's $1,000, the set over the whole patch, the dollars are, you know, it's definitely worthwhile.
Okay. For the almond industry, there is even more riding on the work of the honeybee. The growth of the industry has been staggering. A little over a decade ago, there were 4,000 hectares of almonds nationally. Today, there are 27,000 hectares, most of it just south of the Murray River. It's one of the nation's fastest growing horticultural sectors. Global demand for almonds has doubled in the past decade. Within 3 years, when the younger trees mature, Australia will become the world's 2nd largest almond producer.
California is obviously way out in front, but we'll be somewhere between 6 and 8% of the world almond industry. Australia is a significant player then in the almond industry worldwide. But here, you know, really it's come on in the last 10 years. There are trees that are 25 to 30 years old in the ground, but the biggest percentage of almonds have been planted in the last, 10 to 12 years.
The future estimate is that we will need 200,000 hives of bees, and that comes to a total of 6 billion bees that are needed for the almond industry.
This new processing plant, where thousands of tonnes of nuts are shelled and dried, gives some sense of the scale.
Good quality here, huh?
Good Aussie almonds, beautiful.
Yeah.